And good morning, units versus house. Young bull and old bull are going to talk about the options and which one actually makes more money, a unit or a house. Stay tuned.
Good morning.
Hey, Billy Bob, how are ya?
Yeah, really good. It's the weirdest interview this morning because I can't see you. But I can't
Why?
see you from my end, but I know everyone else can see you.
Oh, right. How come you can't see me?
Because I haven't got my screen on this morning. I've got some facts and figures to present. So I've had to sacrifice the view of you for my facts.
For the facts and figures. So,
Yeah.
Bill, this is a really interesting one because at the moment, we're still on the hangover of COVID. People have changed their opinion on where they want to live, how they want to live on the base of, this pandemic. People have headed more towards houses because they're working from home, so they've got more room inside. Units have been left behind in terms of ownership. Okay, there's a couple of sides to it. There's the rentability side of it. Then there's the actual, buying for your first home and things like that. So there's been this great gap that we want to talk about this morning that's happened. Can you explain it to us, Billy Bob?
Yeah, actually, you phrased it up really well there. It is a COVID hangover. These are still effects that pretty much, reflect the basics of, supply and demand off the back of COVID. And, it's not quite found its new normal yet. So we're still finding our feet here. And it's really interesting how it's impacted houses versus units. And, I guess opened up the conversation of what would I be buying in today's market? What represents better value? And where's it going to go from here? So let me quote, house and unit price growth started to diverge in late 2021. In September 21, the national median house price was $570,000, 9.6% higher than the median unit price of a unit, $520,000. But fast forward to May 2023, last month, the typical house costs $725,000, which is 30% higher than the price of a typical unit. So that's mainly been driven by your price growth in the capital cities, but the median house price is now 31.6% higher than 5 years ago. Units have only increased 9.8%.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah.
So if you've owned a house, you've done a lot better owning the house than owning the unit, in summary.
That final line there.
Yeah, and I've always said to people, same. House growth, unit growth, same. But not the case the last couple of years.
No. It's quite interesting. I mean, the article goes on to explain, that demand for quality, larger homes have never been so high. People have never spent so much time at home, combining it now from not only a place to live, but also a place to work from as well. So I think they've, started to now see the numbers trickle in and reflect, people really moving away from apartments where they can, for something a bit larger from a living point of view.
Now, something that's interesting is living costs are a lot more, particularly in the last 12 months. And I think that traditionally unit livings are cheaper, is definitely cheaper than house living when you consider strata costs you consolidate all your costs in a year, compared to house living and you consolidate all your costs in the year. The house, you're looking after the outside as much as you're looking after the inside. So if people are choosing to consolidate costs and save a little bit of money, it is definitely cheaper to own and live in a unit than it is to own and live in a house fact.
Yeah.
So that may change a little bit now with people trying to save a little bit of money. What do you reckon?
I reckon you're spot on. Yeah, people are finding ways to cut costs in whatever way they can. Um, yeah, I mean, there was a lot of talk about prices compared to regional areas as well. So some of these regional areas have seen better growth than some of our city centres. Hobart, out of all the places, has been some of the strongest real estate growth in the last 5 years.
Now, let me give you an example over 10 years for a suburb like DY. I do like a suburb like DY because we do more sales of units in DY than the Sydney CBD does. It's huge.
Yeah, that big volume.
It's huge volume. Now, check this out. Capital growth, 10 years. %71.5%.
Yeah.
Houses, capital growth 10 years, 144%.
Amazing.
So houses have absolutely smashed units in our area. DY is an example of that. So I think, could this now mean that we're going to lead to the units rallying and the units doing well, or the houses taking a little bit of a hit? Or do you reckon that gap's always going to stay the same?
I think I think for a suburb like DY, again, supply, just from a supply point of view, there's such there's such a difference between supply levels that I think naturally you're going to see a slightly higher gap in those two, as an example. But yeah, I definitely think the appeal for an apartment and as an investment or to live in is going to come back as the city's back to life now, and rents have come up. I think before it didn't make much sense to own an apartment when you could almost earn your same money in any other investment, whether it just be cash in the bank. But now it's starting to come back a little bit. Those rents have come up to match the increase in costs.
Now, something for us to all to consider is scarcity, lack of stock. It adds value to anything in the world, whether it's a watch, whether it's a handbag, whether it's a house, whether it's a car. Scarcity adds value to something, and lack of it is definitely very, very good. So what's happening now with building costs becoming expensive? It's harder to deliver a home at a reasonable cost. It's harder to deliver to even get a unit block out of the ground, given the cost. It just doesn't make sense. So that's adding to a pipeline, or a lack of pipeline, for units and houses coming into the market. That's going to help with pricing definitely within the market. But what I've also found is the investor is getting punished for owning a house because of land tax. Do you want to explain that? Lisa said you're a well-educated man for 19 years of age.
Thank you. I have to. That's why I've got my facts and figures behind me. You're the Mr. Miyagi of land tax market. There's no way I could steal that from you. So I'm gonna hand that back over to you.
Okay, so what everyone's got to understand is there's a threshold. The government has a threshold of the amount of properties a person can own before they have to pay tax on how much investments they have. So this day and age, you can have about $3 to $4 million worth of units and not be eligible to pay land tax, and you can own. Whereas if you own $1 or $2 million of houses, you'll be paying a fair chunk a year, maybe 5,000 or 10,000 in land tax. So houses are pushing you over into land tax, and the reason why is the government's trying to free up the houses, and they'd rather for families to move into, so they're whacking them with land tax. What's that going to do to this gap? I reckon you're going to start seeing units being more the flavour. I think that whole COVID thing is going to wear off a little bit with people. People are getting back to their offices less, and then I think the people are going to start trying to save costs. In summary, and they realise houses are expensive to look after, so they really want to get into units to save money as well. So I personally think out of today, it's the revival of units. I don't think houses will suffer a result, but I definitely think units haven't had a lot of capital growth, guys, as much as you think, and as much as people are going to whine about affordability. Units have only done about 70 to 80% in most suburbs in the last 10 years, not even double.
Yeah, it's interesting. There you go. That's a bit of a wrap.
Anything else you want to say, Billy?
No, guys, have a great Monday. I think it's also exciting for regional Australia. Seems like those guys have really picked up the pace over the last 5 years. So it's good to see the growth's well balanced. Not all just in capital cities. So I think that's positive.
It's done really well, and I do have to say, I think there's going to be a stress on land. And I talked about scarcity. I think there's that element of scarcity because they're not building land. It's hard to find land. So to get houses, very hard. They're running out of land, and to get unit blocks, given our planning controls and how hard it is to get stuff developed, it's just hard. It's the scarcity of the sheer places where you can put a house these days is gonna help with housing prices. And units, sure, are not as bad as land, but it's still hard to get these building sites up.
Yeah, well said. Very well said. That's it.
What's Lisa got to say? I don't know that people thought life would get back. What is normal?
It's really hard doing these conversations when you can't see the other person. I didn't enjoy that.
Jesus. Hey, another thing as well, it's my wedding anniversary today.
Oh, congratulations, Lisa.
Yeah, I've been with my beautiful wife for 23 years now.
That's beautiful. Has it been stressful?
Yeah, of course.
You were supposed to say no.
Marrying me would be very stressful for 23 years.
That's beautiful. Congratulations.
Thanks, and happy anniversary, Lisa Novak.
Have a good day.
It's been Disneyland, Lisa reckons.
Yeah.
All right, take care. See you, everyone.
See ya.